The truth you've been hiding is costing you everything. What if the secret you've been keeping not from the world but from yourself is the single most expensive decision you've ever made? Not expensive in dollars, expensive in years, in missed opportunities, in relationships that never reached depth because you never showed up fully, in businesses that never scaled because you never admitted what was actually broken. Most people are walking around carrying a version of themselves they manufactured for approval, a curated highlight reel designed to make others comfortable while slowly suffocating the person underneath. And here's the brutal, uncomfortable, statistically undeniable truth. Suppression doesn't make problems disappear. It compounds them, like debt with interest you never agreed to pay. Every day you hide the truth about where you really are. Your finances, your health, your mental state, your failing strategy. Is another day, the gap between where you are and where you need to be widens. Silently, ruthlessly, without mercy. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest. It's the one smiling while everything quietly burns. You cannot fix what you refuse to face, and you cannot face what you've trained yourself to hide. The cost of your silence is your entire future. Vulnerability is not weakness, it's the highest form of strategic power. What if everything you were taught about strength, stay composed, never show cracks, project confidence at all costs, was not wisdom but weaponized fear dressed in professional clothing? Here's what the data on high-performing individuals, elite founders, and generational builders consistently shows. The ones who break through don't do it by pretending to be invincible. They do it by being precisely, strategically honest, with themselves first, then with the people around them. Vulnerability is not emotional collapse. It is not weakness theater for sympathy. It is the clinical act of accurately diagnosing your reality without the ego-protecting filters that keep you mediocre. A surgeon who misdiagnoses to avoid an uncomfortable conversation doesn't save the patient, they kill them slowly. You are both the surgeon and the patient. When you stop hiding the real problem, something extraordinary happens. Your brain stops spending energy on maintenance of the lie and redirects that power towards solving. The moment you say, here's where I actually am, is the moment resources, people, ideas, and opportunities begin aligning with your actual reality instead of your performed one. Honesty is not a virtue, it is a competitive advantage. The performance of success is the enemy of actual success. What if the image you've been building, the posts, the positioning, the carefully constructed persona, has become the very wall standing between you and the results you desperately want? This is one of the most savage traps high-ambition people fall into, and almost nobody talks about it openly. You start performing success before you've built it. You optimize for looking like you're winning, instead of doing the ugly, unglamorous, repetitive work that actually produces winning. And here's where it turns lethal. The performance becomes addictive. The validation hits like a drug. The likes, the comments, the "you're crushing it" messages flood your nervous system with enough dopamine to temporarily silence the voice that knows, deeply, privately, undeniably, that the numbers don't match the narrative. Revenue is not followers. Profit is not aesthetics. Freedom is not a curated feed. The people who actually build wealth, health, and meaningful impact are almost never the ones performing loudest. They're the ones in the back, doing the work no one sees, with a precision and honesty that makes performance look childish. Drop the costume. The real game is not about who looks the best. It's about who builds the best. And those two things are not the same. Your avoidance strategy is your failure strategy. What if the thing you've been avoiding the hardest, that one conversation, that one number, that one decision, that one truth, is exactly the thing your entire breakthrough is waiting on? Avoidance is not rest. It is not strategy. It is not patience. It is fear wearing a productivity costume. And it is costing you compounding losses every single day it goes unaddressed. Here's the psychological mechanism most people don't understand. The brain assigns threat level weight to avoided items. Meaning, the longer you avoid something, the bigger and more terrifying it becomes in your nervous system, even if the actual action required is relatively small. A difficult financial conversation avoided for 3 months doesn't get easier, it builds a fortress of anxiety around itself until it feels like an insurmountable monster. But the moment you walk toward it, the moment you open the spreadsheet, make the call, say the thing, the monster shrinks instantly. Almost insultingly fast. Because it was never the thing itself that was dangerous, it was the story you built around not looking at it. The highest leverage move available to any human being right now is to go directly toward the thing they've been running from. That is where the gold is buried. Always. The people around you already know what you're hiding. What if the secret you've been so carefully protecting, the struggle, the gap, the fear, the failure, is not actually a secret at all? What if the people closest to you already feel it, already see it, and are simply waiting for you to say it out loud so the real conversation can finally begin? This is one of the most ego-shattering realizations high performers face. We exhaust enormous amounts of energy managing perception, constructing narratives, controlling information, staying 3 steps ahead of the reveal, when the people who actually matter have already read the room. Your team knows morale is broken. Your partner knows something is off. Your clients feel the inauthenticity in your pitch. Your audience senses the performance. And here's what the silence actually communicates. Not strength, not stability, but disconnection. It signals that you don't trust the people around you enough to be real. And broken trust, even the quiet, unspoken kind, destroys teams, partnerships, and businesses with ruthless efficiency. The irony is savage. The honesty you're afraid will make people leave is the exact honesty that makes the right people stay. And the ones who leave when you tell the truth, they were never going to be there for the hard parts anyway. The moment you stop hiding is the moment everything accelerates. What if the single greatest unlock in your business, your body, your relationships, and your bank account is not a new strategy, not a new tool, not a new market, but simply the decision to stop hiding and start operating from an honest baseline? This is not motivational fluff. This is operational reality. When you're hiding, you make decisions based on protecting the lie. Every strategy you build on a false foundation is structurally compromised before it launches. Every team you lead without honesty is operating at a fraction of its potential. Every investment you make while hiding the truth about your real financial position is a gamble built on sand. But when you stop, when you draw the line and say, here's the actual number, here's the actual problem, here's exactly where I dropped the ball, the entire operating system of your life upgrades. Clarity replaces confusion. Precision replaces guessing. People show up differently because you show up differently. Decisions become faster, resources align, momentum, real momentum, not performed momentum, begins compounding in your favor. You don't need a new strategy nearly as badly as you need an honest starting point. And the honest starting point is always the same place, the truth you've been hiding. I'm done performing. I'm done packaging. I'm done carefully selecting which version of the truth is safe enough to share without making anyone uncomfortable, including myself. Because the honest reality is this, the thing I've been hiding, and if you're watching this, the thing you've been hiding, is not protecting you. It is destroying you, quietly, compoundingly, with the same merciless math that destroys businesses, bodies, and relationships, not in a single catastrophic moment, but in 1,000 small surrenders that each felt like the reasonable choice. Let me be blunt about something most people in this space refuse to say out loud. The truth you are suppressing right now about your finances, about your strategy, about your health, about where your business actually stands is not a secret you're keeping from the world. It's a debt you're accumulating against your own future, and the interest rate is compounding daily. I spent years building a version of myself that looked like the answer, projected confidence, controlled the narrative, managed the perception at every angle, and from the outside, it looked like momentum. But here's what no one tells you about performing success before you've actually built it. The performance becomes the prison, because now you're not just building a business, you're also maintaining a lie. And maintaining a lie is a full-time job that doesn't pay. Every decision you make gets filtered through one question. Does this protect the image? Not, is this the right move? Not, what does the data actually say? Not, where am I really bleeding? Just, will this break the story I've been telling? That's not strategy, that's survival mode, wearing a suit. And you cannot build a world-class life from survival mode. Here's what I had to confront. And what I'm watching thousands of people refuse to confront right now at enormous cost to themselves. Vulnerability is not weakness. It is the most brutally efficient competitive move available to any person serious about winning. Not emotional vulnerability. Operational vulnerability. The willingness to look at the real number. To say the real thing. To sit in the meeting and put the actual problem on the table without softening it into something more comfortable. The doctor who lies about the diagnosis to protect your feelings doesn't help you. They kill you slowly while you feel better about it. You are the doctor. Your life is the patient. And right now, you are choosing bedside manner over accuracy. And the patient is suffering for it. The people around you already know. Let that land. Your team already senses the instability. Your partner already feels the distance. Your audience already detects the gap between what you're saying and what's actually happening. Human beings are extraordinarily calibrated lie detectors. Not in a confrontational way, but in a felt sense. They feel inauthenticity, the way they feel weather change. They can't always name it, but they respond to it. And they are responding to yours right now. The silence you've chosen to protect yourself is being interpreted as disconnection. And disconnection is the #1 silent killer of teams, of partnerships, of communities that could have been great. Here's the mechanism no one explains properly. Every item you avoid grows in psychological size proportional to the time you avoid it. A difficult conversation you needed to have in January becomes a crisis by March. Not because the actual problem got that much worse, but because your nervous system has been building a threat architecture around it for 3 months. So you're not just dealing with the original problem anymore. You're dealing with the problem plus the anxiety, plus the shame, plus the identity you've built around not looking at it. That's 3 times the weight for a problem that might take 30 minutes to address, honestly. Avoidance is not a strategy. It's a fee, and you are being charged for it every single day. Now here's the part that changes everything. The exact moment you stop hiding and start operating from your real baseline, something that feels almost impossible happens. Everything gets easier. Not because the problems disappeared, because you stopped fighting two wars simultaneously. The external one everyone can see, and the internal one, the exhausting, relentless, invisible battle of maintaining the performance of being okay when you're not. When you drop that, when you say, here's where I actually am, here's what's actually broken, here's the real number, here's the real conversation we've been avoiding, your brain immediately redirects that processing power towards solving, not defending, solving. Decisions become faster, communications become cleaner. The right people, and I mean the right people, the ones built for the hard chapters, they step forward. And the ones who are only there for the performance, they quietly exit. And you will feel zero grief about it. Because you finally understand, a team built on a false foundation is not a team. It is a liability shaped like an asset. I'm telling you this because I've watched brilliant people with better ideas, better skills, more raw talent than most, get outcompeted by people who are simply more honest. Not smarter, not better resourced, not more experienced, just more honest with themselves, with their teams, with their market. Honesty is not a virtue reserved for philosophy. It is a performance variable with measurable impact on output, velocity, and results. The most ruthlessly successful people I've studied share one trait above all others. They see reality clearly, without the ego protection filters that keep most people comfortable and mediocre, and they act on what they actually see, not on what they wish were true. That clarity is not a gift. It is a practice, a daily decision to look at the real number, to have the real conversation, to hold yourself to the honest standard, not the performed one. And that practice starts with one moment. This one, right now. Stop hiding. Not for the audience, not for the optics, not because it makes a good story, but because the version of you that operates from truth is so categorically more powerful, more effective, more capable than the version performing for approval, that the moment you experience it, you will never go back. The unlock you've been searching for in new strategies, new tools, new markets, new hires, it was never out there. It was always behind the door you refused to open. Open it. Every result in your life is downstream of your honesty. Your revenue, your relationships, your health, your peace, all of it traces back to how clearly and courageously you are willing to see your actual reality and operate from it without flinching. You now know what most people spend their entire careers learning too late. Hiding is not protecting you. It is pricing you out of the results, the relationships, and the life you are fully capable of building. The gap between where you are and where you want to be is not filled with more tactics. It is filled with more truth. Start there. Start honest. Start now. And build something that doesn't require a performance to maintain because it's built on what's real. What if the one thing standing between you and the business you want, the body you want, the income you want, and the life you've been privately designing in your head at 2 a.m. is not a strategy you haven't found yet, not a skill you haven't developed yet, not a market you haven't cracked yet, but a truth you haven't said out loud yet? What if you've been sitting on a hidden cost, not measured in dollars, but in years? Every single day you choose performance over honesty, image over accuracy, comfort over clarity. I've seen it destroy companies that should have won. I've watched it collapse relationships that had every reason to last. And I felt it personally, the weight of hiding what's real while building something that looks right. That ends today. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what hiding is actually costing you in numbers, in opportunity, in velocity, and more importantly, what becomes possible the moment you stop. If you've ever felt the gap between who you appear to be and who you actually are, don't move. Because what's coming next is the conversation you've been needing someone to have with you for a very long time.